Hello, son is the father of man. This is Ivy Trippin. I watched your video, Reciprocity, and I want to respond to all of the points that you made, but since I don't trust myself not to ramble on forever, I'm going to restrict myself to just two of them. The first point I'd like to talk about is the reason for your video, reciprocity. What I gather from your video itself is that your argument is that you feel that since you're very polite to atheists and since you're very respectful to atheists, that we should be respectful to you, and a lot of us haven't been that way. Well, first of all, I'm sorry for that. There are some jerks. And secondly, yes, you have been very polite. I notice you don't get angry, you don't shout, you don't cuss, you don't really do a lot of the things that other people like, Gear Up or Venom Fang X do. You don't say such hateful things most of the time. But as for respectful, well, making a video where you talk about, hey, maybe we're not really atheists, maybe we're actually Satanists, that's not very respectful. Or saying, just right here in your video on reciprocity, that we should wait for all the evidence to, for the existence of God to come in before making a decision. Well, what evidence? I mean, I've taken, a little bit of time to search through some theological journals, and I haven't actually found any conclusive evidence for any of the things. So, granted, I didn't take a lot of time, and I should take some more, and I'll do that later on, though right now I have things to do. But, yeah, when it looks like all of the evidence is on one side, and there's nothing on the other. So, in this sort of situation, how long do you think we should have to wait for the rest of the evidence? Until the end of our lives? And should we find some way to become immortal and stay alive and wait for 1,000 years, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 years? And the thing is too, it's not like, look, you say in your video that you watch a lot of atheist videos. That's one of the ways in which you're being respectful. But a lot of the atheist videos, like Arn Ra's videos, the foundational fallacies of creationism, or Thunderfoot's videos where he talks about how creationists use God as just an excuse for the unknown. They go through this. They go through the pretty much total lack of evidence for a supreme being, for any of the religions, for a supreme being. And to say that you've watched all these videos, you must have come across this at some point. And since you're not presenting actual evidence here, well, that kind of sounds pretty disrespectful to me. Well, it sounds pretty dishonest, and I take that to be disrespectful. Because you're saying, okay, so all of the evidence is on this side, none on this side. Well, let's ignore this stuff and pretend that there's none anywhere, and just go with that. Now, I don't mean, of course, that there's no evidence for the non-existence of God, because that, again, as many atheists have said, is silly. It's like evidence for the non-existence of fairies. How do you find evidence for the non-existence of fairies? Come on. So anyway, that's my response to the first part. The second thing is you say that you lose sleep over being a Christian. That Phil Hellenist says, oh, well, people just become Christians because they like to, I forget exactly how you put it, but that basically it's a safety blanket, that it's something that's like a drug that makes you feel good all the time. Well, I personally think that's silly. And one of the reasons I think it's silly is because another atheist, Go Green 18, who used to be a Christian, said in her deconversion video that, well, she wasn't happy all the time as a Christian, that she thought that she wasn't good enough and she was going to hell, and that made her sad a lot of the time, even at times when she should have been happy. And she's not the only one who said this. You know, lots of atheists who used to be Christians have talked about this stuff. So it's not, you know, I can kind of see how you're coming from there, and yeah, the Phil Hellenist idea that Christianity only exists as a drug and that's the only thing it ever does, well, that's not entirely accurate. But the thing that interested me about this part of your video was that you said that you lose sleep over your Christianity, that it's a burden for you. Well, you don't exactly say that it's a burden, but you say that you think that you'd be a lot happier if you weren't a Christian. And my question for you is this: do you lose sleep because you think you're going to hell, or because you feel like, oh, I've done something wrong, that means I've betrayed God, or for some other reason? See, the reason I ask is because I used to call myself a Christian too, but unlike you, I didn't actually believe. I just used God as a tool. What happened was, when I was in elementary school, I just loved superheroes. I loved the idea of superheroes. You know, the people who do the right thing, the thing that helps others out, the people who are selfless no matter what, the people who are good people no matter what, who are always a benefit. And I wanted to be a good person just like them. So I didn't actually believe that God existed, but I created him as an imaginary friend. Well, in my own mind, I created him as an imaginary friend. And he would be someone to look down at me and to look after me. You know, throughout my life. And when I say look after me, what I mean is that I would make deals with him. You know, I will not tell a lie, I will not steal, I will blah 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 blah, and he'll make sure that I don't do it. You know, this will be a set of eyes that'll always watch me. And when I in elementary school, I think I told, I don't know, 2 lies, 3 lies. It's ridiculous. But the thing is that when I did something wrong, I felt bad, not because I thought I was going to hell, but because I thought, I'm not a good person anymore. That this says something about me. This says that I'm a bad person now. So I'm interested to hear when you say that this is a burden for you. Do you mean that you are afraid of going to hell, like Go Green 18 was? Do you mean that you have, you know, I wasn't a genuine Christian, but do you mean that you think of yourself as a bad person, the way that I did? Or do you mean that that's something else, that maybe, well, maybe my life would be more comfortable if I'd kept that money and not given it to the homeless person, for example? You know, something to do with giving up earthly pleasures in favor of heavenly rewards. And anyway, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say. So, God be with you, and have a pleasant day.